call the hearing to order today on January 5th, 2022. We'd like to start with the pledge, please. And it is 7:01. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will have our board secretary read the call of the meeting and the return of the call.
Return is hereby made of the undersigned on the 22nd day of December 2021. Cause to be posted on the public signpost in the town of Durham, Middlefield. A written warning by the Board of Education. And on the 22nd day of December 2021, cause to be published in the Hartford Current, a newspaper having a circulation in the towns of Durham and Middlefield. A like warning of the district meeting, public hearing on the John Lyman Elementary School bond project to be held the 5th day of January 2022. Mr. Trello, Chairman, Regional School District 13 Board of Education.
Is that all we need to read? Just that one?
The return of the call.
Return of the call? That's it?
And also
Pardon?
both.
The call of the meeting
Call
and
and
the return of the call.
Both.
There's two. That's what we have. I think we did it. We have the warning notice as well. Is it, we need to read the warning?
Yes.
Warning? Yeah, I think we have to read the warning as
Yep.
well.
Warning referendum vote, Regional School District number 13, Town of Durham, February 8, 2022. A referendum vote of the electors and citizens qualified to vote in town meetings of Town of Durham, Connecticut will be held in the Town of Durham in the following place: Coggeshog Regional High School, 135 Pickett Lane, Durham, Connecticut, 06422. And simultaneously in Middlefield, Connecticut on Tuesday, February 8, 2022, between the hours of 6 a.m. and 8 p.m., pursuant to Section 10-56 of the General Statutes of the State of Connecticut, as amended, upon a resolution adopted by the Regional School District number 13 Board of Education at a meeting held on January 7, 2022. The resolution will be placed on the ballot labels as the following question. Shall Regional School District number 13, comprised of the towns of Durham and Middlefield, appropriate $7,500,000 for renovations and improvements to John Lyman Elementary School, and authorize the issuance of bonds, notes, or temporary notes in an amount not to exceed $7,500,000 to finance the appropriation? Yes or no? Voters approving the resolution shall vote yes, and those opposing the resolution shall vote no. A copy of the full text of the resolution is on file and available for public inspection at the town clerk's office. Absentee ballots will be made available from the town clerk's office. Dated Durham, Connecticut, the 5th day of January 2022. King Gardner, Durham, town clerk.
Our next order of business is to vote on a moderator for the meeting. May I have a nomination?
I nominate Bob Moore for moderator.
Okay, we have Bob Moore nominated for moderator. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a second. Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Okay, we have one nomination. We have Bob Moore. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, Bob.
Thank you. Good evening. We'd like to start this district meeting with a statement from Chairman Lucy Petrella.
I think I'm going to come up here. Good evening. I would like to just give you a short summary of the bonding the board is proposing before we begin public comment. The renovations needed for John Lyman School were studied by Silver Petroselli, a firm the district has used for a number of years. There are some copies available at the front table if you'd like to review it and share with others. There is a copy also available on the district's website. Silver Petroselli felt that overall, John Lyman is in good to fair condition, and the building has been well maintained and updated throughout its lifetime. However, though John Lyman has been well maintained, there are still a number of conditions that need to be addressed at the school. A spreadsheet of these specific items is available in the Silver Petroselli report. The conditions found were prioritized in 4 phases, from urgent priority to low priority. I will briefly explain each. Projects designated as urgent priority are items that should be corrected as soon as possible and most likely encompass code, health, and life safety issues. Urgent priority items total approximately $284,000. These items are listed as priority 1 on the Silver Petroselli report. High priority items listed as priority 2 are items that should be corrected within a reasonable amount of time after the highest priority items. These may be associated with high priority maintenance issues or accessibility issues for the physically challenged. Maintenance items have a remaining useful life from 1 to 3 years. High priority items total approximately $4,511,500. Moderate priority items, listed as priority 3, are items that may be associated with aesthetic or general maintenance issues with a remaining useful life of 3 to 5 years. Moderate priority items total approximately $1,330,000. Low priority items, listed as priority 4, are items that include maintenance and aesthetic issues that are not in current need of replacement, but should continue to be monitored on a regular basis. These items typically have a remaining useful life of 5 to 10 years or greater. Low priority items total approximately $483,120. The total cost of the project for all 4 phases is approximately $6,608,620. Again, all of these items are listed in the Silver Petroselli report, and copies are available here as well as on the district's website. The amount of the bond of $7.5 million proposed by the board and the subject of tonight's hearing is designed to cover the expenses of all 4 phases with a percentage added to cover cost increases. We are meeting here tonight to discuss the scope of the bonding and the recommended projects to upgrade John Lyman School. We welcome your comments and questions. Michelle from Silver Petroselli is also available to answer any questions you may have about the listed project updates. We are going to strictly limit our time to 3 minutes in an effort to make sure that everyone is heard, and we ask that you respect this time limit. Following this hearing, there will be a short recess and a special board meeting will be held by Zoom, where those who have not spoken here at the hearing can share their thoughts. All meetings can be viewed live and will be recorded for future viewing. Links to both meetings are on the district's website. Thank you. Yes.
Just so everybody, is my microphone on? It's low? All right, I'll stand up here then. Just wanted to add, we have a few individuals, including Michelle from Silver Petroselli and Kim Newbig, who will be on the Zoom, but because of their locations, they could not be here and there. So if there are questions that only they can answer, I will be texting them and getting the answers back, so there may be a little bit of a time delay, but we're going to make sure we get you all those answers.
Is there any other board members that want to make a comment before we start? If not, we have time to start for questions. Carl, you going to ask the question? Okay. You want to come come to the microphone so you get recorded?
Name
Yeah.
and town.
And state your name and...
Hi, Bruce Heidinger from Middlefield. In just the 2 minutes that I was reviewing this, a little confused in terms of, we've got a projected up to $9 million cost. Sounds like we're trying to appropriate 7.5. But if we go to the back page here, can somebody explain where the 13.5 million and then the half being met by the state comes into play?
I can speak to the second one. When Silver Petrus, can you hear me? Or should I come over here? I'll be there. The report includes the consideration of renovating the school as new, and that's the 13+ figure that you quoted. The board made a decision before it came to this process to remove that as a possible consideration, and so that's off the table. My understanding of the $9 million that you saw and the $6 million that Lucy mentioned is that there's a range there, and we felt in advice from our architect and also our business manager that the 7.5 would build in cost increases and inflationary considerations that we could probably expect, but that going all the way to the $9 million would be a little bit excessive on that end, and so that was again the board's determination with getting to the 7.5. Is that helpful? Okay.
My question is, given the appropriation of funds, is this considered a stopgap procedure, or are these funds appropriated for building maintenance that's intended to be long-term for the uses? So in other words, does this essentially kill the district reorganization that was previously voted upon, or are we just looking at kicking a can down the road?
Many of these projects that are on this list are necessary because they're urgent and they need to be done in order to keep the school running and to keep the children safe. With the whole scope of phases 1 through 4, that would be regular maintenance and upkeep on a school building that we are keeping open and utilizing.
Is there, so I haven't even looked at this, but is there any indication about how the architectural firm, whomever went over it, how long they feel this will essentially leave the building in good standing? Is that information available? I understand
I'll
it's not.
text that question to
Yes.
you, sir.
Sure.
I have asked that question, but if you mind, I just added to it. I think the recommendations in here are to basically long-term improvements to the school to maintain it open. Replaces the boilers, the air conditioner, the heat, the ventilating, all those things would be covered under items 2 of this project. So you were looking at basically a method to keep the school open for the long
Functioning for the foreseeable future.
Right. You know, another 20, 25 years.
Sure.
For the life of those facilities.
Okay.
All right, the answer that they've given me, they're watching the live stream, so they're faster than I am.
Ah, good.
Roughly 20 years.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Any other questions or comments? Rick?
My name is Richard Parmley. I'm a resident of Durham, and I'm very proud to be an American citizen. I'm looking around here this evening, and my thoughts were, why should I have to take my life in my hands and go to a meeting tonight when it could be held at another time? I don't think this is, because of COVID-19, I am sure the attendance is down, and I don't think this is a fair representation of this proposal to go before the voters without having a proper hearing where everyone could attend safely. regionalization was never my idea, and there are costs beyond the millions you're talking about here, because if you keep the school open, there's the cost of staff in the building. We should be consolidating our efforts and streamlining the system, and so we could capitalize on the regional concept for finances. The majority vote in Durham was to close the school. I guess Middlefield didn't, so it failed. I think the two numbers probably would add it up to closing it. I don't know. I think you ought to explain to the constituents somehow what what happened when this fails, what are the big bombs that you got coming at us financially. And I would hope that the contracts would be written so that the people working on the project are all Americans and not make any allowances for people that are here illegally under any conditions. Hopefully all these people involved here with the proposal, the firms and stuff will bid for the work. And I have a very strong memory of the end run the Board of Education made several years ago when we had the proposal to bond for the athletic fields over here. The bond council found a glitch in the proposal. So rather than bring the proposal back to the voters, the Board of Education decided, and the powers to be probably in both towns, to make an end run around this and go to the legislature. So the people from Vernon and Norwalk and Darien and various other parts of the state who were up there represented, they got a waiver so that could go through. And that doesn't sit well with me. Hopefully, because the school has in the past a couple of times had fees for student activities, which I was always against. But then again, I know Durham will always waive the building permit fees, and I would hope Durham would discontinue that practice. And I don't know what they do in Middlefield, but they should discontinue it too if that's what they're doing. So I really think this should be adjourned. And you should have another hearing when more people can attend so you can get a representative idea of what really goes on. It's a terrible, terrible thing. I mean, I was called on to serve my country. I didn't have a choice, but I did it gladly. I'm here electively, and I don't really like subjecting myself to this type of thing when it's unnecessary.
Thank you, Rick. Part of
I think the board ought to go to Zoom meetings and be in continuity with what the town does. YouTube is kind of difficult. I'm not very technology savvy, that's for sure, but just the same, if you want to make information available to constituents, have some continuity. I don't think that what you're doing now is conducive to bringing things to everyone.
Thank you, Rick. I think Bruce is going to tell you that part of this announcement was there's a continuation of this meeting on Zoom later after this meeting ends. Is that correct?
Right, we're very well aware of the situation with COVID, but in order to satisfy legal requirements, we needed to have an in-person public hearing, which is what you are participating in now. We have also set up, within a short time after this meeting is over, we have a Zoom meeting that's also going to be available for the public, so that those people who were not here, don't feel comfortable coming here, can then speak at that meeting. So we will get a much larger input. We'll get much larger input. So we've thought about that as well.
Doug, you
Right,
have...
but you can certainly get onto that Zoom meeting and hear some of the other comments as well. The links are all on the website, but you'll have time when you leave here to get home and to do that.
Doug, you have the debt service that is raised by borrowing $7.5 million.
Yes.
I know Kim has it.
No, she sent it to me. Just give me 1 minute. think I sent it to you too, but whichever one of us can find it faster.
The debt service is basically the amount of money that would be required to pay back each year if all the bonds were issued at the same time. You could borrow this over the time, depending on when the money is issued, but the debt service on $7.5 million is...
Send you a text.
Yeah.
279,000.
276.
76.
276, 239 per year.
Carl?
Carl Stel, Durham. I'm still not quite clear. We're talking about bonding. We're talking about getting money from the state. No matter where we get the money from, we're going to be paying for it one way or another indirectly. What are the total costs that we're talking about spending on this project?
Doug?
$7.5 million.
7.5 million is top.
Correct.
That's not plus money from the state or grants or...
No,
Okay.
it's just 7.5 million.
All right, thank you.
From what we've been told, some of the ADA requirements and some of the things that are not up to code, they may be able to be reimbursed, as well as like LED lighting and things like that. That could be reimbursed by the state, but we're not planning on spending more than 7.5.
Tereso Blatz, Durham. And I guess I'm a little naive as to what really happened here, because I thought we were going to close Lyman, and I guess Middlefield voted to keep it open, so here we stand. Is that a done deal? So we're definitely keeping Lyman open?
Yes. Basically, yes.
Yeah. So we have no other option here? Because I don't think either town can afford this, so I'm just kind of trying to figure out, is there any way to backpedal? Is there any way to rethink it? Or are we stuck with an additional, it's not going to be $7.5 million, it's going to be $10 million, and we can't afford it?
I think the only way would be to go back to a referendum on our plan amendment.
What if everybody keeps voting down the costs? Like if we go to referendum and the cost is $7.5 million and it gets refused, what do you do?
The board can then take a look at the bonding and perhaps make some adjustments in the amount in which projects will be done. That's one of the options that we have. But as long as the school is staying open, we absolutely have to maintain it for the safety of the students that are there.
The other option is that we can add it to our budget if it keeps getting voted down, and then that will increase our budget quite a bit.
And increase everybody's taxes.
Correct.
So the whole game plan is out the door in terms of reducing costs, because it's not only the building costs of correcting the building, it's all the administrative costs that go along with keeping it open.
So, I mean, there's some turnover with the board, as everyone knows, but the majority of the board that voted we wanted to close Lyman, but we couldn't do that, so we had to change our plan amendment, which we've tried twice now, and both times it got voted no. So we're told by our legal counsel that unless that we can amend that, then no, we have to keep it open, and if we have to keep it open, then we have to fix it.
I guess what I would suggest is I think it has to be very clear, and I don't think it's happening. I don't know how many are on Zoom to be listening to this live as opposed to obviously nobody here. I really think the communication has to be very, very clear, and I obviously can suggest writing in the Town Times or somewhere else, but I think everybody has to be very, very clear at what this is going to do to the taxes. I mean, I love the Lyman program and I love everything about it, but at this point now, we're a small town with a losing population, and it really is something that I think we do need to reassess. And if it needs to go another time to referendum, and I think in the meantime, we have to talk to the people from Middlefield, and they have to also educate me on why it's important to keep it open. They voted yes. I need to understand their perspective as well. And the communication, I mean, I'm pretty good at staying current, I am feeling like I'm just very blindsided by everything right now. So I think a good level of communication is going to help out everybody understand. Thank you.
One of the pieces that a regional district offers is that when you have a number of communities together, most of the votes are by majority vote. And not at all times do all the communities vote yes. For instance, there are times when the budget is approved in one town but not approved in another, but it still needs to go through, and because it's a regional school district, the costs are shared. In this particular case, it wasn't a majority vote because it directly dealt with the original agreement the town signed and what this regional district was going to mean to these communities. So therefore, both communities had to approve, just as they both communities had to approve the original regionalization agreement. And just like other votes, it's a vote that was made, it was a vote that was decided, and we will do our best to be as frugal as possible to move forward, keeping in mind that we have the safety of the children. I believe the costs to run Lyman now with administration and teachers and all is already built into the budget. And the figure that if we went with the $7.5 million bond and it was approved, that's the highest bond that we're putting out there, the impact on the budget is $276,300. That's how much it will cost us on a yearly basis in order to support this bond. Okay, I'm sorry, I was just looking to see if there was something else. In a few years, and I don't have the exact dates, some of the bonding that we have now, the debt service that we have now, will be finished, and it's actually will be more than what this is, so that there will be a little bit of a saving, but that won't be for several years out in the future when, when some of our debt service, there's a piece of our debt service that's pretty much finishing. I'm not sure if I'm confusing you anymore, but, okay. Right, and, okay, I hear you. Thank you.
With the announcement of a referendum, the district's attorney will provide a fact sheet, an explanation of what's going on, and that may have enough information to satisfy most people's needs. Yes, come on down. Just come to the microphone so we can get you.
Just a follow-up question to that was that as a voter from Middlefield, the wording on the referendum, well, first, the referendum fell during, the local election period where the turnout is typically extraordinarily low, and I'm guessing that, in the neighborhood of 10% of the population of Middlefield actually voted, yay or nay on the question. And the question also was worded in a manner that was sort of, best way I could describe it is, do you want to close John Lyman? And I understand that, I'm not a lawyer. I'm sure that the legal counsel that the board uses dictated the language very closely that was necessary. But there was no aspect of, should you vote, no, you do not want to close it. There is the hanging over your head, the resulting being $7.5 million necessary for bonding. So I just wonder, and I don't know if this is possible, but I just wonder if a referendum were held again, specifically with language that includes the result, or if that's something that's possible, because I wonder if that would change, the mindset. Because I do remember walking into the voting booth thinking, well, reading the wording on this question, the answer would be no, I don't want to vote. I don't want to close John Lyman because I like John Lyman. My children have gone there. I'm very, very happy with it. However, I understand the financials, and I voted that we should close it. I chose to vote that particular way because I understand the financials and the reality of the town. So I don't I don't know. I don't know if that is possible, but that's, I wonder if the board have ever considered that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we wanted to do that, we couldn't. The legal counsel said no. And then once we vote to go out to referendum, we can no longer use district funds to sway a vote, so we can only provide factual information. And when we went out, we did have like a Q&A on our website, and when we went and voted to set the referendum date, our legal counsel actually asked us to take the majority of that down because they felt like it may have swayed the vote. So we're trying. The other thing is if this referendum votes no, then we'll have to come back and do it again, and every referendum costs the town money. Some of the other things that I've heard is, why don't we just do the level 1 and that's it? And the problem with that is that it takes a while for this all to happen, so it's probably going to be about a year before any of this work gets done. And then with the level 2, that's 1 to 3 years. So by the time, if this referendum voted and we only went out for, 284,000, there would be other things that fall through. Our maintenance staff has been extremely good at fixing things at John Lyman. From what we've told, some of the boiler and parts and things like that, they don't make them anymore. So if something goes, it's quite possible that we cannot open the school the next day. And then what are we going to do with the kids? I'm not speaking directly to you. I'm just looking at you because I need somebody to look at. But And some of the things I've heard from Middlefield residents is that they really want an elementary school in their town. They feel like it would decrease their property value. We had Debbie Husher's group saying that she didn't think that was the case. There's also a big emotional component to the John Lyman building. The John Lyman program, as it was, does not exist anymore. We do not have an ID program anymore. We have one program right now, and we're working towards an Education Reimagined with Doug. And I think it's going to be great, but Lyman's no longer a hot school either, and I think people don't necessarily know that. People thought that they were voting to keep John Lyman as it was. And while it's a fabulous school, my kids went there, but it's not what it was.
Any other questions or comments? If not, we could move to adjourn to our Zoom meeting, which would take place probably
About 15 minutes.
15 or 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
Yeah, by 8 o'clock we'll certainly be on. So if there's no more questions or comments, we have a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
There's a second.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. It's the only thing you can vote on tonight. Aye. At the hearing. Thank you very much for attending.
Thank you.
And if anyone needs any help with the Zoom link or how to get on, you can come up to one of us, we'll help you out.
Teresa?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's being recorded.
It is recorded.